Benvenuti in cucina! Welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to make Salsiccie al Sugo con pasta alla Nanci, one of my favorite Sunday dinners. Linguine with shrimp. Simple, easy to make, and it tastes fantastic. Sicilian Fish Soup, a Nick Stellino favorite tradition. And of course, my favorite dessert, Panna Cotta. Learn the difference between an Italian and Italian-American. Come for the recipes. Stay for the story. There are only two kinds of Italians. Italians and Italian-Americans. That's the way I see it. Italians, they're very difficult. I am difficult. Italian-Americans, they're always happy. They're generous. They don't care so much. Italians, we are difficult people. One of the rules that we have is that when you have a meat dish, like a steak, sausages, meatballs, you don't put pasta next to it. When I came to America and I got veal, marsala, with spaghetti on the same plate, it was, for me, an act of betrayal. I think I almost went crazy. I remember writing to my mom and dad, says, "You will not believe what they do here in America. They put the meat and the pasta together. What kind of forms are this?" Now I do the same thing. I have become an Italian-American. Salsiccie al Sugo. I don't know if you noticed this, but when I say this, I smile. Why? Sausages braised in tomato sauce. This was a Sunday dish for us Stellino. The thing that I love the most about it is not only on how simple it is to cook the sausages, but will make you look like the best chefs your family has ever met. Let me show you how. You're gonna love this. First thing we're going to do, to this pot, which I have on medium heat, I'm adding chicken stock, and to the chicken stock, I'm adding tomato sauce. Why do we do this? We are going to braise the sausages into this mixture. If I was only to put tomato sauce, what would happen is that as the sausages braise into the tomato sauce only without the chicken stock, the tomato sauce would slightly reduce to a point in which it would become almost gummy-like. It is at this point, before it starts to boil and pop all over the place, that we add the sausages. You've seen me in many dishes that I've done before with sausages. First I brown the sausages and then I add them to the liquid. By not browning them, we are increasing the amount of fluid that are going to leak out of the sausages into the sauce, making this sauce spectacular. How spectacular is this sauce? My mom and dad used to make a big, huge pot of this when we had our relatives over. Every Sunday it would be done. And there were actually two dishes that come out of this particular pot. One dish that was the sausages themselves. We would serve them with broccolini, roasted potatoes, mashed potatoes, all sorts of different ideas. But the one thing that was truly the golden opportunity was the sauce itself. Cooking for about 25, 35, 40 minutes, depending on the size of the sausages that you have, the sauce, as it reduces, also absorbs the flavor of all these things, and it becomes, in my opinion, one of the strongest and most powerful sauces ever. Yet, it is so simple to make that it's just three ingredients: the sausages, the chicken stock, and the tomato sauce. The way we used to do it at our house is to serve the sausages over mashed potatoes. Very simple, takes no time at all. You can also serve this over roasted potatoes if you want to, but there's something about mashed potatoes that just makes it perfect. Is this good enough, or should I add to it some tomato sauce? Well, the way I look at it, tomato sauce, you cannot go wrong with it, but just to make it elegant, I like to put it on the edges of it, just like that. Look at that. Signori, this is how you make sausages braised in tomato sauce. One of the great things about making braised sausages in tomato sauce is the sauce that's left behind. And now I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this sauce, and you're going to love it. The first thing that I do, I add it to the pan, and there is no addition of any other ingredients. I know that all the time that you guys have seen me do sauces before, you always see me adding a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The sauce needs nothing. The braising process, where the sausages release all the flavor into the sauce, is the true miracle. We have our pasta in here that's ready now to go into the sauce. So what I've done with the pasta is I cooked it slightly al dente. Actually, more than just slightly al dente, slightly undercooked. Why? Italians, true Italians, people like me, when it comes to the sauce and the pasta, they gotta dance together. Because if they don't dance together, they don't fall in love. And when they fall in love, it's the most beautiful thing that there is. You notice how much sauce there was in there before and how the sauce now is being completely glazed, absorbed, and it's coating the pasta just perfectly well. I love this. This is exactly where I want to go. And the beautiful thing of having something like this is that if you should say, I would like to add a little bit more tomato sauce. There you are, a little bit more tomato sauce. We turn it with this one. Now, if we wanted to, it is so flavorful, the sauce, that we could serve the pasta exactly like this. But I would like to give you another addition. This addition is based on the impressions that my wife had when she came to Sicily. So I call this pasta alla Nanci because once that I didn't feel like cooking, she says, you know what? I'm gonna make this pasta your mom taught me how to. And she made me this, and it was wonderful. What is this? Let me show you. The addition is ricotta cheese. Now, my wife was in love with Sicilian ricotta. Sicilian ricotta is nothing like what you get here. Sicilian ricotta is in itself a work of art. The reason why I like the ricotta is because it gives the creamy finish that you would get with cream, but without the heaviness, and yet has a great flavor of its own. Once the ricotta melts perfectly into the pasta, we pretty much have what we want, but this is not finished. No, my wife is a woman with many ideas, and she said, one more thing, cheese. Now, in her case, she added Parmigiano Reggiano, because my wife likes Parmigiano. Me, on the other hand, I will add pecorino, because pecorino is the true Sicilian cheese. So here we go with our pecorino. Now, you might have noticed this with a slide of the hand. Underneath, I turned off the heat altogether. The reason why I do this is because I do want the cheese to melt, but I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan. Oh, mamma mia, che romantico, che bellezza. We're ready to plate this. Let me show you how. Plating this pasta is one of the things that gives me enormous pride. It gives me pride because this is a pasta that my wife made for me, based on her experiences from her trips and her travels to Sicily with me. I love it. I love it because not only is it spectacular and it tastes great, but it's simple to make. And there's something unique in the simplicity of beauty, exactly like her smile. When she smiles, she looks exactly like this pasta. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more beautiful than something that looks so close to my wife's smile. Signori e signori, here it is. This is how you make pasta alla Nanci. So, the pasta and the meat, do they live together? In America, they do. In Italy, they don't. As a matter of fact, another thing that as Italians would do crazy, we do not allow people to put cheese on top of shellfish. I remember this one time my wife was at this very expensive restaurant in Venice, and she said, could I please have some cheese for the shrimp risotto? And the waiter looked at her and said, no. Then I looked at him back and says, would you like to get paid? He said, yes. Can I please have the cheese? No. These people really live by these rules. Pasta con I gamberi. Pasta with shrimp. Anybody can make pasta with shrimp. So why is this recipe so special? I have this issue with pasta with shrimp. More often than not, I find that when the shrimp is put whole, it's inconvenient for me to twirl the pasta around. So one day I thought to myself, and I was in my 30s at the time, why do I have to use the whole shrimp? Why don't I make a ragu of shrimp? It sounds innovative. It's beautiful. The shrimp comes out lovely, tender, moist, perfect. Let me show you to make my pasta with shrimp. I put the pasta into the water. We have the olive oil in the pan. The olive oil is abundant. Why is it abundant? Because the olive oil, in a certain way, is going to be our sauce. That's what we're going to have. So first, we're going to go with red pepper flakes. The reason why I like to put red pepper flakes is because I like a little bit of heat, and the little pepper flakes allow me to regulate the heat. I would say a quarter of a teaspoon, if the first time you ever do this, is a good way to go. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to add some garlic. This garlic, we have cut really, really thick because this garlic is going to be with us all throughout the recipe, and I want to get it nice and brown. So here we go with a few pieces of garlic. I call them a few pieces. Some people get scared when I say this. While the garlic is cooking, I like to stir into the pan. Why do I do this? I want to keep an eye on it and make sure that the garlic doesn't go from just cooking to burn. So one of the things I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to lower down the heat. Another addition I'm about to make, you've seen this many times, is the addition of the parsley. Why is the parsley so important? By adding it now, what the parsley will do for us, it will fry into the sauce and release into the sauce this wonderful flavor of its own. Oh, the garlic is now starting to brown. This is the ideal moment when we want to add the shrimp. Now, what I've done with the shrimp, and this is very important for you to know, is, let me add it right now, I have cut the shrimp in small pieces. I would say each shrimp is about cut in 3 pieces, 1 inch each. Why do I do it this way? I think that it releases a lot more flavor into the sauce, and also I like it a lot more because it's a lot easier to taste, to bite into it, when you actually are twirling the linguine. While the shrimp is cooking, we add some more spices. A little bit of salt, use sea salt, I prefer that, and pepper, just to complete it with it. And one little addition that is not often done is just a little teaspoon of paprika. The reason why I put paprika is for its flavor, the smokiness that it brings into it, and also the color, which I love. Reduce this to medium-low and let the shrimp cook. As soon as the shrimp starts to pick up its beautiful red color, as you see right there, the next thing that we're going to do is to add a little bit of white wine. And here we go with the white wine. There you are. Now we're going to crank up the heat a little bit more, and we're going to cook it until some of the wine starts to evaporate. The wine now is nicely reduced. I'm going to let it simmer. In a few moments, we will finish the pasta cooking into the sauce. What is the importance of the pasta cooking into the sauce? If I could guide you through it, imagine that the pasta is entirely one coil with many layers to it. And as it cooks into the sauce penetrates layer by layer down to the very core of the coil itself. How does this advantage you? It advantages you in a very significant way, because now the pasta is not just pasta by itself, rather the sauce in which the pasta is finishing its cooking is penetrating the pasta so intensely all the way through that it's going to give you this wonderful flavor with each bite that you take. The shrimp is releasing its flavor, the pasta is cooking through. I always like to keep my pasta a little bit al dente, slightly undercooked for the bite. If it's something that you don't like, you don't have to do it this way. It does not ruin the dish. One last touch that I like to make is a little bit of butter. What does butter do for us? Butter does several things. One of the things, it brings into this pasta this wonderful glaze. A glaze that not only colors the pasta and coats it, but it brings out a creaminess that you're not expecting. Turn off the heat now altogether. It is at this point that I like to add a little bit more parsley, just like this, for color. The pasta is ready to be served. Let me show you how to plate it. When plating this pasta, I think to myself as if I'm a painter in the making of something spectacular. What I like to do is to put the pasta right into the middle, and then using another one of my favorite tools, a nice large spoon, I like to cover the top of the pasta with a shrimp. It's like painting something. You can already see every single bite that you're going to take, the juice that it does have, the creaminess of the wonderful, wonderful butter that is coating every bite that you will take, and this little shrimp that will make you sing forever. This is the kind of pasta that's going to make a little Italian out of you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is how you make pasta with shrimp. So in my house, I don't care what it is. If I like it with the cheese on top of it, I do it. What is the moral of the story? I believe that freedom, above all, and freedom of choice, even in eating, is far more important of the rules that are set up from wherever it is that we come from. Sicilian fish soup was a very popular dish in my house. Well, in just about every Sicilian household, fish primarily was the mean of protein. This particular soup is unique because first, it's very simple to assemble. Ingredients that you find at your local supermarket, techniques as simple as 1, 2, 3, average pots and pans you have at home. But there is an addition about this: curry. Curry, you might say. How did a Sicilian come up with curry? My father had taken extensive trips up to northern part of Europe, and one year he come back with this curry spice that we never heard of, and he used it on everything, including spaghetti. Now, that was a problem. However, he redeemed himself. And the way in which he redeemed himself is by adding curry to this wonderful Sicilian-style fish soup. I guarantee you that once you try it, you will never go back to any other version that you know. The oil is nice and hot. We're gonna add some garlic. While the garlic is cooking, we add a little bit of red pepper flakes to enhance the heat. And as soon as that starts to pick up a bit of brown on the garlic, immediately we go with the onions. Stir the onions around. What we want to do right now is to have the onions melt into this. This is the base for the soup. Why is this base so important? Let me add a little secret to this. This is a little touch that I'm gonna add of curry. Why do I add it at this point and not later? I find that when you add the curry during the cooking together with the onions and the garlic, the heat makes it bloom, blossom. It opens up this wonderful flavor. At the same point, we add now a little bit of parsley. I want the parsley to fry into this base and to create for us what we want. Notice that I'm keeping this right now medium-low heat. I want the onions to melt. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they cook something like this, especially the base of it, is that they cook it on such high heat that they burn the base. That is usually the difference between having patience with something or being in a rush. When you cook, don't be in a rush. Have patience. Life is beautiful. It tastes better when it's done right. At this point, I crank up the heat once again because the next thing that we're going to do is the addition of the mussels. And together with the mussels, I'm going to add the calamari. Calamari, I have both things, the heads and the tentacles. Why am I adding the calamari and the mussels at this point? This is very important. The calamari are wonderful. One of the great things that the calamari flesh does is absorbs the flavor in which it's cooked. So right now, what you will notice is the little soft rounds are starting to curl up, become a little bit harder. As they do, they pick up all of this wonderful melange of flavor that's in here. One by one, they're starting to taste better and better and better. And also they need a certain length of time to cook to the point that finally they melt into your mouth. Calamari that are not cooked right tend to be very tough. This way is one excellent way for us to keep them together. What I love to do at this point is to also add wine, white wine. Whatever white wine you might want is fine. One thing I would not recommend is red wine. I've done it before by not using wine and using brandy instead, and I must tell you, I was very happy and very satisfied with the flavor that we had. So at this point, we just want to cook all this, just bring it around, and just make sure that all of those flavors are involved. And look at this point, already some of the mussels are opening for us, and keep this in mind. Every time you cook with shellfish, especially mussels, if they don't open, you should take them out. So at the end, we'll do one last check to make sure that all the mussels have opened. If they're not open at the end of the cooking of the fish soup, we must take them out. Let's go now with the other additions of what we need to do. A little bit of tomato sauce. And then we go with a little bit of fish stock, which I happen to have. If you don't have fish stock, you can use chicken stock. Take the shells from the shrimp and have them boil inside the chicken stock for about 15-20 minutes. As the chicken stock reduces and the shell cook and they go from their color to red, they will infuse a lot of fish flavor straight into the dish. All right, as you can see, the mussels are starting to open up nice and beautifully. At this point, we add the other ingredients. First, we go with the shrimp. The shrimp has a very taut flesh to it. It needs a certain amount of time to simmer into the sauce. And as we simmer it into the sauce, and I keep calling it the sauce because to me, the soup, in a certain way, is also a form of a sauce. If I wanted to, I could make a wonderful pasta with this. But all of these ingredients that we have added one at a time, they're going to enhance the personality of it. How? The next thing that we're going to add is the scallops, which are cut in small pieces, and these are base scallops that we have. Last thing that we do is pieces of fish. You can use just about anything you want. Cod is great. You can use halibut. What I propose never to use is actually salmon. Salmon is a very aggressive fish, in spite of the fact that it's a beautiful fish and I love. If you were to add it to this particular soup at this point, it could completely overtake the soup with its own flavor. Think of these as if we are composing right now a symphony. Each ingredient that we add has a presence of its own, has a tone of its own, and together these ingredients by themselves as simple notes are coming together into the form of music, culinary music, if I can say so. If my father heard me talk like this, he would be so proud of me. And we are ready to play. There's something highly emotional about this dish, and the reason why I find it so emotional is because It reminds me a great deal of my late dad. It reminds me a great deal of my youth. It reminds me a great deal of Sicily. And as I played and I look at all this wonderful shellfish, I remember spending time with my father, going to the fishmonger, to the market, picking up the ingredients together. Him telling me, Nicolino, Nicolino, guarda che ti voglio insegnare, un giorno la farai in America, dove andrai tu? My father even then knew that one day I would come to America. And I take my time while I do it. I take my time because I'm at peace with the world. I can see all these gorgeous ingredients, just perfect. The pieces of fish, the pieces of scallops, the shrimp, the calamari. I know what this flavor is like. This flavor is something far more than something just good. This flavor just hits the heart before it hits the stomach. And as I look at it, I say to myself, Papa, ti voglio bene, which translated in English means, Dad, I love you. And thank you for teaching me this. Whenever I cook for myself or I cook for others, one of the things that I keep in mind is that whatever I think is what I think. But if I have a guest in my house, if I have a paying customer coming to my restaurant, they should have what they want, the way that they want it. And what I love about the Italian American way of thinking is to always find a way to make everybody happy. Mamma, fammi la panna cotta! No! Why? Perché sei un diavoletto. Translated in English, this means me screaming at my mom, Mom, please make me panna cotta. My mom answering back to me, no, because you're a little devil. In truth, I was a difficult child. But my brother Mario was worse, however. This is the dessert that Mom used to make at home for me and my brother Mario, and we loved it. Very easy to make, very tasty, and still, to this very day, one of my favorite desserts. So, how about I show you how to make it so you can make it for your family? The making of panna cotta is very, very simple. We start first and foremost with the cream together with the chocolate that we're gonna mix into the pan. And then you start stirring over low heat. What you want to make sure is that the chocolate melts into the cream. Once the chocolate melts to perfection, meaning there is no other solid pieces left behind, at that point, that's when we add the milk. The milk is going to make this a little bit lighter. It's wonderful. All right. Now, you don't want to bring this to a boil. You want to maintain it so that the melting continues and you see the chocolate becoming richer and richer on the inside. Two more additions that we need to make. The first is the addition of the gelatin. What have we done with the gelatin? We've taken the gelatin powder and we place it in a small container. We cover it with about 2 tablespoons of water, warm water, just so that the gelatin activates. And now it's time for us to add it to this chocolate mixture and let it come together. Once you add the gelatin, be attentive because the gelatin is still somewhat solid. So make sure that the gelatin completely melts because ultimately the gelatin is the bind that will make this particular liquid panna cotta into a nice, wonderful dessert. You know, if it was me, I could eat it right now. One last addition that I like to make at this point is sugar. We have enough sugar already as it is into the chocolate, but as far as I'm concerned, a little bit of sugar is always better. All right, our panna cotta is cooked perfectly. I want to share with you a couple of tricks that are going to make your life a lot easier, especially when it comes to pouring the panna cotta without any accident inside the molds in which ultimately the panna cotta will harden up and become jello-like. What I have done, I've already taken the chocolate mixture and put it into this bowl. And what I like about this particular instrument is that a spigot, just like this, that allows me to basically direct right inside of it. And once you've done it with all the chocolate panna cotta in your molds, you place your molds in the refrigerator for at least 5 hours. Overnight would be better. So what happens once it's done? Look how beautiful it is. There's a little bit of sweat that was generated from the cold in the refrigerator. But how are we gonna mold this? And here is where the trick comes in. You're going to love this. Here's what I've done. I have taken another mold that I have preheated in this warm water with a small knife, a paring knife. I have gone around the edges of it and scored it to make sure that it loosens itself up. At this point, we pretty much have what we want. So let me show you how to plate this. I've undone the top and now we are going to unmold it into our serving plate. This is the point in which I always get scared. Will it work? Will it not? One last shake just to be on the safe side. A couple of prayers to San Gennaro. One to Santa Rosalia, and then you say, Mamma mia, che bellezza! You can do it this way, and what happens is a nice, wonderful puddle of chocolate sauce that built all the way on the around. You can put some berries if you want to. Well, like me, if you remember what it was like to be a little boy, I just love to go at it and eat it right out of the bowl. And this is how you make chocolate panna cotta. So I do believe that the Italian-American way, in my own mind, it's a better way. Might not be right all the time, but there's something for everybody. Yeah, I'm an Italian-American, and I like that. What if it doesn't work? What's gonna happen to Stellino? Don't worry about me, because even if it doesn't work, I'm still gonna eat it. And I'll say, uno, due, tre, and then you got to give it one last push that says, please come out. How do you do it? Gently like this, and then we lift it and we say, vieni, 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 you son of a... Yeah, we'll use that for the B-roll, right?